You may be facing difficult times, wondering how much more we think for a night. Can't seem to see the light of the sunshine. Well, a change is here, and His word is clear for you.
You may be facing difficult times, wondering how much more we've been for now. Can't seem to see the light of the sunshine, but a change is here, and the word is clear for you.
God's promises are true. Find one to hold to, and no matter come what may, you've got to speak it till you see it. Say,
You may be facing difficult times, wondering how much more we think for nights. Can't seem to see the light of the sunshine. Well, a change is here, and His word is clear for you.
God's promises say,
God's promises are true.
find one to hold to,
Find one to hold to.
and no matter what come what may,
No matter what day
you gotta speak it. So this is what we're saying, y'all. What will you say?
What will you say?
What will you say?
What will you say?
Speak His word. It's gonna change your day. What will you say?
What will you say?
What will you say?
What will you say?
Speak His word. It's gonna change your day. Everybody say.
What will you say? What will you say? What will you say? Speak the word. It's gonna change your day. Tell me what will you say? What will you say? Speak His word. It's gonna change your day.
Now you gotta know and understand that we have power in our tongue, power of life and death. So this is what we said. Every problem, situation, God's word.
is the remedy.
Every problem, situation, God's word. Come on, mom.
Every problem, situation, God's word. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Every situation, God's word.
I am the head and not the tail. I'm above and not beneath.
I'm blessed in the city, and I'm blessed in the field. Come on.
I'm a chosen generation, a royal priesthood. Say His word.
I am fearfully and magnificent.
Hey. Welcome everybody to Transformation Thursday. We are in for a treat tonight. Thank y'all so much. I see y'all already coming in on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you are. Welcome to the digital sanctuary of the Gathering. We are so happy to have you with us on this wonderful December evening, wherever you may be watching or coming in from. We are so happy to have you watching and tuning in with the Gathering with us. I am Pastor Lavelle Stepter, and we got a great and amazing treat for y'all. I told y'all we had a treat for you tonight, but before we get started with everything that we're doing, just want to do some digital checks. Make sure that you're able to see me, make sure you're able to hear me, all that stuff. Make sure we're not lagging. So if you can see me, if you can hear me, all that good stuff, let me know. And if you're watching, depending on where you're watching from, don't just share it. Tag someone else to come on in. Tag someone else to come on and say, "Hey, the Gathering is on. Let me see what's happening. I gotta check in with the Gathering. I gotta watch the Gathering tonight." So make sure that you tag someone, not just share it. If God has put that particular person on your mind to share what He's given us on tonight, make sure that you do that. Make sure that you bring somebody else in, that you intentionally tag someone. So I want you to like, love, share, do all of that good stuff. Hit that hard button, especially if you're watching from YouTube. YouTube audience, where you at, waiting till y'all on YouTube, wherever you're at on YouTube, Facebook audience, how you doing? And soon we're gonna get Instagram. We're gonna see how we can get the format working for Instagram. So with all of that being said, I want to see how is everybody doing on this wonderful Transformation Thursday. All right, Carla told me I'm sounding good and looking good. That's my wife, so she might be a little biased, but I'll take the looking good part. I ain't gonna give that back. I'll take the looking good part. So thank you so much, wife, with that. But tonight we're gonna get started early on what we are doing. So with that being said, we're going to get started early with what God has for us. But I want to make a few quick announcements. I want to announce December 29th. December 29th. Before I jump to the 29th, let me just talk about this coming Sunday. December, what's that, 22nd. Now, did I say that right? It's a date in a minute. This coming Sunday, I want to see everybody in the building this coming Sunday. I have an amazing word that God has given me. I can't wait to release it. God is very intentional about what he's releasing and how he's releasing these messages and these words to us. So I want to make sure that it's there on this coming Sunday, December 22nd and December 29th. Everybody knows what December 29th is for us. It is our Hungry Gathering service. I want to see everybody that can be in the building for our Hungry Gathering service. I want to make sure that you're there. You don't bring your cousin, your friend, everybody, people who ain't in church, people who don't be churching and all that. Bring them in. We're going to have an amazing time. And for those of you that I told, keep that up so they can get the information. Keep that up so they can get all of this good information. I want them to be able to see this information. Keep it up. I want them to get all of this good information about them coming to the Hungry Gathering service. I want to make sure that all of you all are able to get to the Hungry Gathering service. Again, that's going to be Sunday, 1:45 p.m. We might even start a little bit earlier. We might start at 1:30 because we got a lot that's going to be done that day. I'm going to release the prophetic word that God has given me for 2025. Also, we're going to have communion that day. So we're going to have worship, word, and we're going to let God just do what God's going to do. I have a specific word for that day. So I want everybody to come on in, bring somebody, even if they keep saying no, still invite them to come. If not, just share the link. Say, watch it online because it's going to be a blessed service. It's going to be an anointed service. So I want to see everybody on December 29th and this coming Sunday, December 22nd. So, all right. With that being said, also what I do, I want y'all to be a part of what we have next Thursday. Yeah, we really doing it in for the end of this year. Next Thursday, we're going to have on our panel for what we've been talking about all year, which is transforming our mouth. This thing right here, it can get you into a lot of trouble. It can get you into a lot of trouble, or it can help you out. So, with that said, next Thursday, December 26th, we got the ministers of the gathering. We're still going to see, we might have one more that will be joining us, but next week, December 26th at 7 p.m., we got the ministers of the gathering that will be joining us. Oh, it's going to be amazing, y'all. And all of us going to be hitting our perspectives of transforming our mouth and what it's mean to us, some of the things that were kind of hard for us to transform our mouth in. So next Thursday, I want to see everybody in. So again, you got 3 days to remember. This coming Sunday, if you miss this coming Sunday, don't blame me that you missed the move of God this coming Sunday. Next Thursday, as you see on the screen right now, December 26th, we're going to have a great and amazing time. Bring them good hard questions, y'all, to make sure that they were paying attention. And if it's just something that you want to know, be real with your questions. One thing about us, you can put it back on me. We are a transparent ministry, but we're also a word ministry. So we're going to give you the word of God. We're going to let you know what God says. What's the best way? What are some tools? What are some methods that you can use to transform your mouth to be better here? Because we are what we speak, whether you do it or not. The way your life looks right now, you spoke most of it into existence. You spoke most of it using the words that God has given you. So with that being said, I see y'all in the comments. Good to see you, Ava. Good to see you in the building. Good to see you, Bobby. Good to see you, Josie. Good to see you, Carla. All of those that are coming in from far and near. Good to see y'all. So With that being said, tonight, as you have probably seen with some of the advertisements that's been going up, David, good to see you. What David say? Put that up. Come on. He thought he was just gonna sneak that in. Nope, nope, nope. You ain't sneaking that one in. You ain't sneaking that one in. You ain't sneaking that in. He said Pastor Stepter will be handling all of the hard questions. Now I'm gonna pass it on to y'all again because God has called me to raise leaders. Now, if you can't get it, then I'm sure He'll give it to me. And then sometimes, shoot, I might not have the answer, so I'm gonna go to Him. And that's one thing. Never be ashamed to say you don't have the answer or something like that, because you want to make sure that we feed God's people the right thing. But I'm gonna push it back on y'all, and I know that God is going to give us the answer because He wants His people to be well learned and to understand how to use this thing that we've been talking about for more than a year, this power. And we're going to need it for next year with the things that He's given me, the word that He's given me for our house for next year. Yeah, Carl, he also. Barana, good to see you. Good to see you. Creative genius in the building. Barana, good to see you. So again, that's going to be next Thursday. I want to see all of y'all in the building on next Thursday. It's going to be amazing at Digital Sanctuary. You can have your coffee. I got my tea, and we're going to let the ministers and myself, I'll be on the panel, but we're just going to hear what God has given them, some of the things that they've learned that's been very instrumental to them on this year, and also just some insights that I might not have hit, but God has given to them that they wanted to share with you. So I think it's going to be it's going to be an amazing time. You get to hear their voices. You get to hear their heart. You get to hear their perspectives and the thing that God has given them to be a blessing to you and myself. So we're all going to be there, and it's going to be amazing. So make sure you bring everybody in. And then we're going to have the media staff just do a big trivia. We might do a big giveaway on a trivia, might make it hard. So whoever gets the most right, maybe do like a $50 gift card or something like that. But we're going to do a big trivia, and whoever gets the most right would do like a $50 gift card. So this ain't gonna be your normal trivia. This is gonna be the one for the end of the year where we kind of do it all together and do something big and be a blessing to those who were with us. Corey, is that Corey? That Roosevelt? Is that really cool? That's probably Roosevelt. Roosevelt, good to see you. Kendra, good to see y'all. Y'all coming in from far and near. Good to see y'all coming on in. So let's get started. Tonight, what we're going to talk about is transform your finances, and why this is so important. God had put it on my heart earlier in the year, and I was just trying to wait for the right time and the strategic time to say it. Not necessarily happening during Christmas time or when people are doing a lot of giving, but God knows the timing. But I believe I wanted it to be released before we go in. Next year is going to be very critical of how we use our time and our resources. So what He's given me with us transforming our finances is that the reason this whole thing came to be about is a lot of times we as Christians, and I'm gonna keep it 100 with you, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you, no pun intended. uh Many times with many of us, and let me know if I'm being real in the comments. Y'all let me know if I'm being 100% honest. Don't leave me out here by myself. If it ain't you, it don't apply to you. Many of us have been given our tithe. Many of us have been given offering, and then we don't do this at our church, but there's been times in years past when ministers or evangelists come by and they say, I want 100 people to give $20, 20 people, and God's going to bless and all that. You've done all of that, and you've done all that you know according to the scriptures, but it seems like you're still working from paycheck to paycheck. Like if your job ended today, that you don't have enough stored, that you don't have enough saved to be able, how they say you should have 3 to 5 months of security money set aside. And a lot of us are one paycheck or two paychecks away from actually being broke. And we've been given. So we have to say, is God a liar? Because He told me to give. And if I'm giving and I don't have it. And this is no shot or anything to anyone. Am I freezing? Or can you still hear me? If you can still hear me, I'll continue to talk. Of course, this happens on Bible class Thursday, but of course, that's how it is when we go live on Transformation Thursday. But can you still hear me? Okay. Okay. So with that being said, I'm on. Love to ask. So, that being said, what we want to do is to make sure that we understand how to use our finances, because sometimes it's I'm gonna say, I ain't gonna say sometimes, most times it's not a God thing, it's an us thing. It's an us thing of not utilizing our finances in the best way that God has set us up to be used. So and I want to say this to everybody that's watching. This is no shade or no derogatory thing towards you. This right here is to help all of us. So if you ain't been able to do it in your heart, be like, Lord, I want to give. I want to be able to give you my best. I want to be able to give you my all. If you haven't been able to do it, what this whole seminar is about, to show you, to show us how to be able to give, how to be able to be good stewards over what God has given us. So just know, if you haven't been able to do it all year, learn the lessons that he's going to give us tonight and say, oh, this is how I'll be a better steward over my finance. Because it isn't that God is blessing. As many times we are not good stewards over what he's given us. So I want everyone to put in the chat, I will be a better steward. I will be a better steward. So even if you weren't able to give during the year, if you weren't able to have a good budget, because this is just not given to the church. I want to be clear on this. This is not just about giving to the church. This is about having enough finances for when you want to just go on a trip and say, oh, I'm tired of this job. Let me go away on a trip for a week or so. This is to have enough money to be able to say, hey, I just need to get a vacation. I need some money, extra money, to be able to say, I need to take a trip. I need to get a woosah moment. Because many of us, again, this is not, because if you're able to give your tithe and your offering, guess what? Somebody said, uh somebody said this statement before, I can't afford to give my tithes. Let me tell you something, you can't afford not to. If you're ever going to get out of the hole that you're in, you have to learn how to give and be a good steward over your tithe, and also about your household. So again, this is not just giving your tithe and offering to the church. This is about making sure that you got something saved. This is about making sure that whenever God gives you, you know how to say, hey, I got to put this aside for this. I got to put this aside because I do want to go out. And this is to help us all. So we're going to forget all of the stuff, how we might have mismanaged funds the previous 11 and a half months, and we're going to do better tonight. But let me say this, and then I'll introduce our speaker. Just because you mess up in the previous 11 and a half months or the 4.5 years doesn't mean because we pray over you and you get this information that it goes away. Guess what? Sometimes it's a process for debt to be eliminated in your life. But the thing is to be a good steward and know how to steward over your debt to become to a person of financial freedom. Who all wants financial freedom? I want you to put that in the chat. Financial freedom. Financial freedom. So this is both the spiritual and the natural. So I don't want nobody to think Pastor hit me upside the head because of tithe. Nope, I ain't doing that. Your bills will do that because you ain't paid your tithe and offering. I ain't got to do nothing but pray for you and pray that God continues to bless you. I would never shame you on what you're not able to do. No. My job is to help you, to make you whole in every area of your life. So like ending with this year and beginning on next year, we're going to do a lot of classes like this. We're going to talk about more about debt. We're going to talk about being whole in our body. I'm going to bring a nutritionist in. We're going to talk about our mental health. I'm going to bring a bunch of therapists in, because God wants us whole. When we're going out witnessing to the world, we need to be everything that we can be to the best of our ability to be effective stewards, to be effective soldiers, to be effective people of God, to change the world. So with that, he wants us to have financial freedom. This ain't, forget all of that stuff, what you weren't able to do before. This is a fresh start for all of us. But just because this is a fresh start, don't mean that you still ain't got to pay John G. bill collector and whatever. But tonight, take all of this information. This is free. This is free for us all. This is years of experience of someone who's in this financial sector that knows the ins and outs, knows the secrets of banks, knows how credit cards keep you in that loop. So we're going to get into all of that. I think we might get into that all tonight. So with that being said, let me read the bio of our speaker on tonight. Bring it to you, Joseph Dillard. Joseph Dillard is a renowned expert in financial education and money management with over, y'all check this out, 30 years. So this isn't a novice, 30 years of experience in banking and financial service. He holds a bachelor degree of arts in economics from Northwestern University and has a Series 6 and a Series 63 licenses. Joseph has authored Let's Get Started Money Management 101 and is also a community leader engaging in financial education and Christian ministry. His down to earth approach, which you'll really see, he has great humor, but he's also spiritually sound and he's financially sound. So he is amazing. He has great balance. His engaging financial and Christian ministries, his down to earth approach to financial education helps almost anyone understand the complexities of financial services. Currently, Joseph is a banking executive, balancing work with his loving family, married to Ann for 36 amazing years, 4 adult children, and 4 grandchildren. TG, let's give it up for Joseph Dillard. Let's bring so good to have him in. So good to have him in. Financial freedom. That's what we on. Financial freedom. There he is. There he is. Joseph, good to see you. Thank you so much, man, for just spending time, because I know time is a great and a valuable resource. Thank you so much for just freeing up your time to talk to us and help us get to financial freedom. Can't hear you.
There you go. There I go.
There we
There I
go.
go. Thank you. Actually, after hearing your introduction, I think I can just say amen. I think you have told your members and the viewing audience everything they need to know. But I'll just stick around and see what I can do.
I told y'all he's funny. I told he has it all. What are some of the things before we get started that you see not only church folk but just normal folk? What are some of the things that you see people are gets them into debt early? I know one of mine was credit cards when I was a teenager, and not even a teenager, a young adult. When I went to college, they gave me a credit card, and all I remember getting from that credit card was a T-shirt, and I didn't realize how cash advance worked. But what do you see a lot that gets a lot of people in trouble financially on the early onset?
That's a big one. Credit cards. People see it as money. They see it as money and not a loan. It's debt. It's debt. A big thing is not, and I'm going to talk about this, not being taught how to manage money. Another thing is comparing ourselves to others, especially church folks, unfortunately. Not every church folk, but church folks they see other people with new cars, with clothes, so they think, and they're called blessed, but they don't know that maybe that person driving that new car can't pay their bills, their other bills.
Wow,
So
wow.
comparing others is a big thing. Um, needs and wants, buying our needs and begging for our wants. Rather buying for our wants and begging for our needs, thinking about something, wanting it now, not having the patience, not having the patience. You get paid next Friday, but you want it now. So instead of waiting till next Friday, you put it on a credit card saying that I'm going to pay it off, but you don't pay off that credit card. Debt, debt, big time. And it's so, so important. And, and, and unfortunately, a lot of people haven't learned how to manage their money, so they just spend, they look at others. And then today with social media, unfortunately,
Yeah.
we don't know the real story. We don't know the true story. So we're looking at others going, wow, I want to do that. I want to do that.
Right.
Now,
Everybody
this is
want to
just
ball out.
me. Yeah, and this is just me. The thing is they're talking about inflation, but how come so many people I know are going, not just I know, but are traveling on trips across around the world, but they say they can't pay for things. That's interesting. To me, it's interesting. But the thing is that it's so, so important to be financially sound. And and it's not too late. That's the thing. It is not too late to learn. But the thing is, too, I think people can misinterpret scriptures, just like you're saying. It's not a God thing. I mean, I tithe even when I was broke, but the thing
Wow.
is, I still couldn't afford to pay my bills. And the thing is unfortunately, again, we are taught how to tithe the 10%, but not how to manage the 90%. And that's what I'm going to be talking
Wow.
about today.
Can we give them the horns for that? That's dope. Can you say that again? Can you say that again?
It's so it happens often. We are taught how to tithe the 10%, but not how to manage the 90%.
Y'all put
And
that in the
as
chat. Put that in the chat.
and as a
Because
result, we just struggle.
that is so amazing. Because I've seen outside of pastoring, it isn't that people don't have good jobs or anything like that. It's like mismanagement. It's not being a
Absolutely.
good steward over what we have. And
Absolutely.
I wanted to know, is it a isolated thing, or do you see, because I don't want people to feel like it's just them. As far as I know, I remember when I was working at the finances at my former church and realized what the pastor was saying, then I realized it was a great statistic. Only between 15 to 20% of 100 people of the church only tithe. So it lets me know they either don't understand about tithing or giving, or we don't know how to steward over the 90, as you said.
Very common. It's not isolated. It is very, very common. In fact, I believe um, there's always going to be a need to teach people how to manage their money. I believe that there's always going to be the need. That's my passion and my purpose. And I don't think that I'll ever run out of an audience because, again, there's you're trying to make me get into this lesson, but people aren't content with what they have. And because they're not content, a lot of people have a lot of things. But the thing is they act like they have nothing. But think about it. A lot of people have storage units full of things, yet they say they have nothing. And these things are
Yeah.
just sitting there and they're paying a monthly fee over things they will never, ever use again. Yet they say they have nothing. And they'll buy more and more and more, and they'll put more in that storage bin, and they have to get larger ones and pay higher monthly fees. And but they say they don't have enough. But the thing is again, it has to do with it not being content. It has to do with not knowing how to manage money. And again, like you said, was great. It's not shaming anybody. A lot of people haven't learned how to manage money, but once you learn, just like the word, once you know better, you do better. And the thing is, it takes time. There's no magic behind this. A lot of us, I think, believe because we heard testimonies that people tithed and got a blessing. And again, it's not magic. And the thing is if you get a blessing and you spend it the same way you spent the other 90%, it's going to go. It's going to go.
Wow.
I always say this
Wow.
and I share this. It doesn't matter how much you make, it's how you manage what you make. Because if you make $1 million, a lot of people say, I need more money, I need more money. But if you got more money and spent it, you still feel like you were poor. If you made $1 million and spent $1,000,001, you're broke, right? If you make 40,000 and spend 40,001, you're broke. And we have heard of, maybe even know some professional athletes, people who win lotteries. They have and make the money, but they're broke because they didn't know how to manage it. So again, it's not always needing more money, but it is always knowing how to manage the money that you have and the money that you get. I'm not about shaming either, but I will say this.
Uh-oh.
I'll say this. I mean,
I know you
Christmas
will.
is the reason for the season is giving, right? Or is it Christ? And I say that because a lot of Christians get caught up in the buying and the spending. And God bless them. If you can afford it, go ahead and do it. But the thing is that if you can't afford it, you have to really take a look at yourself and say, why am I spending this money? Why am I
Yep.
spending this money? Christmas comes the same day every year. If you want to spend it, why not start saving January 1st? So when you get to Christmas, you won't have to use your credit card. Why? You know,
Yep.
I'll see a lot of posts on Facebook, unless I get unfriended, that Jesus is the reason for the season. But how, but then later we'll see all the blessings that they got, that they went into debt for. But anyways, let's just go on. Let's go on.
Uh-oh. All
Let's
right.
go.
I'm gonna leave it there. So with that being said, everyone, if you got any questions, put them in the chat and I will come on later, me and him, and I'll read the questions and he'll answer your question. There's no question too big, too small, or you can say asking for a friend. But we want to be able to use this resource to the best of your ability to help you. Again, this is not shaming. This is helping everybody, myself included, to make sure that, hey, by the end of next year, I told my wife I want to be in a millionaire club. I mean, but there's stewardship things that has to come along with that. So with that being said, I'm going to bring Joseph. Put your questions that you have in the comment section below. The producer will be getting them out. And then I will come back on at the end of his presentation. Unless it's something that's real good, we might bring it up on the screen and see if he can answer it. But other than that, we'll answer him at the end of the presentation. All right. Here's Joseph Dillard. Thank you so much. Let's see what he got for us.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Looking forward to sharing with you. And even before the slides come up, I just want you to know this is information. And we're going to do some reading verbatim, but at the same time, we're going to do some teaching too. So it's not just about, and you'll learn and you'll see that, because I want to make sure some people are very experienced in finances and they might ask me about investments and things like that, and others are not. But I want to make sure that everybody is aware of what this is. It's really about information, and we will start with that. So let us get started with this, and I look forward to answering your questions later. As was said, my name is Joseph Dillard, and I'm married to my beautiful wife, Ann, for 36 years. I'm grateful. Lavelle didn't tell you, but he's one of my he's one of my sons. We've got 4 adult children and 4 beautiful grandchildren. I'm from the great state of Minnesota, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I'm a Viking fan. Sorry, Bears fans, but that's just the way it is. Nevertheless, don't go away. I do love the 85 Bears, but let's move on. Currently, I live in the state of Illinois, in Bloomington, Illinois. Grateful for that, closer to the grandchildren and our children. As Lavelle said, I've been in financial services over 30 years, and 15 of those years were in retail banking management. So I was a branch manager or a vice president of banking or something like that. Also, I'm a financial coach and financial educator. Like I said, personal finance, financial education is my passion. So I financially coach individuals, and I do financial educations with groups, whether they're in churches, community organization, actually whoever asks, because I love what I do and I do what I love. Also, old school, class of 89, Northwestern University, Bachelor of Economics. But what I like to tell people from the beginning, so they know, it's not what makes me qualified for this isn't my over 30 years in financial education, nor my degree in economics. I definitely learned the hard way. My wife and I have been married for 36 years, but even in the early years of our marriage, we had 12 credit cards, in debt, broke, paycheck to paycheck, and it was tough and tight. And as we went through that process and learned and learned and learned, I was in banking. As I said, I was tithing, yet struggling financially. My parents, they didn't struggle. And I tell a lot of people, a lot of our grandparents and great grandparents did more than us with less than us. Some of us, a lot of us could make 6 figures, and they maybe only made 10, 20,000, but bought houses, raised families. Sometimes they raised their grandchildren. Nevertheless, I learned the hard way. But as I began to learn and understand, I began to see people in our communities, and I began to understand why they were getting so many NSF fees, non-sufficient funds, and why they were being turned down for loans. And I realized that, like me, they were not taught how to manage money. So as a result of it, they struggled, and that struggle turned to hardship. So that's why I do what I do. The basis of my teaching is from a great book, and we'll talk about it a little later, Say Yes to No Debt by Dr. DeForest Soaries. But the sessions I'm talking about is information about money, just like I said. The purpose is to inform, because a lot of people don't have the information to educate. Because as I said, a lot we're not taught how to manage money, and to empower. It's empowering once we learn how to manage money. Sometimes people think that having money is empowering. But once you learn how to manage money, you realize you might not need as much as you thought you did. If you do, great, but you don't have to. Learning how to manage money empowers you, and then to change lives. I said it before and I say it again. Learning how to manage your money will literally change your life. And I've got a lot of people who have that testimony. I hope somebody's on tonight, but if not, I know of several testimonies of people who have changed their lives by learning how to manage their money. As I mentioned before, Say Yes to No Debt, a book by DeForest Soaries, and I'll tell you how I got introduced to him. He was on a show with Soledad O'Brien, and it was, I don't remember, maybe 2015 or something like that. And on that show, he said that being in debt is akin to being in slavery. And I was watching this. I said, let me listen to this brother. And he was talking about it, and I'll share more about it. But he said that, and I bought his book, and then I read the whole book, learned about it, and then I started offering it at my church. And then there were people who were graduating it and getting graduating from the classes and having wonderful testimonies, not just again from tithing, but learning and putting that learning into action. And I'll read this. Say Yes to No Debt is a groundbreaking, life-changing approach to financial wellness. It moves the reader from debt, deficits, and delinquencies, which we'll talk about more, to deposits, dividends, and deeds, and we will define those. Pastor Soares believes financial bondage is an emotional, spiritual, and psychological problem. Again, emotional, spiritual, and psychological problem, more than an educational and informational one. And we'll go into that. Pastor Soares said, I looked as if I had money, but I was drowning in debt. I looked as if I had money, but I was drowning in debt. People of my generation talk about fronting. That's what we were fronting, acting like we had it, but drowning in debt. And a lot of people are doing that, struggling at home, but looking great while they're outside or on social media. And he says it's true. If I can do it, you can as well. Just take the first step. And that's important. And we're going to talk about taking the first step. Our agenda tonight, and I'll look at the time to see how fast I go, but this is our agenda. I'll do a disclaimer because it's so important because of the industry I'm in. Talk about confidentiality. We're going to talk about topics I go through when I teach the whole course. Today is more like an introduction, but it's 12 steps to financial freedom, which come out of the book. D Free, which has to do with financial freedom, a money tip I'll give you. Usually there's a money tip in every step, but I'll just give you one that can help you. And we'll talk about our memory verse or our key verse. And then we'll talk about getting started, what it takes to get started. And then the D's and D free. We already talked about them, but what they mean. And then personal barriers and obstacles. All of us have barriers and obstacles related to being D free, if you will. A lot of us do. And we'll talk a little bit about them. And then a victory story. If there's no one here that's ever gone through the course and had a victory story, I can share one. And then we'll have question and answers, hand it back over to your pastor, and then dismiss. Now let's talk about this session. This session is designed to help men and women of all ages, men, women, boys, and girls, to learn and to understand more about money and improve their financial situations. The content of this session is for informational and educational purposes only and does not constitute financial, accounting, or legal advice. Some things might sound good, but I'm not giving advice. If you do it, it's not advice, but I believe it'll work, but it's not advice. By attending and or viewing this session, you agree to hold me, us, harmless from any ramifications, financial or otherwise, that occur to you because of acting on information provided in this session. Information in this session is not intended to replace the guidance of a professional financial coach or a licensed financial advisor. Finally, the activity should not be construed as a recommendation or as a guarantee of any specific outcome. Now, when I do financial coaching, I do give suggestions and recommendations, but this is just for informational purposes. Just wanted to let you know before we get started. Let's go. Now, confidentiality. I know money is very personal. The topic is very personal. However, I want you to know that if you choose to share, somebody might have a question and they might want to share personal information, or someone may want to speak to me later and they might share personal information about their finances. What I will tell you that if you share with me, it will be strictly confidential. I understand there are some people who don't want to talk about their finances because they're very personal. There's some people who might feel shame about where they are, or they're just very private. And I'll read it verbatim. People are very leery about sharing their financial situation. If someone chooses to share during this session, please maintain the highest level of confidentiality. A lot of reasons people don't share because they don't want their business out in the streets. However, I can't say this is a safe place, but I hope that it is. If someone shares, that it's kept here. Confidentiality is important for engagement and for learning and growth. Very, very important. If you decide to share anything with me regarding your financial situation, then I will maintain the highest level of confidentiality unless I am required to share. If the information shared is about you or someone else being in danger, and or there's a possibility of you or someone else being harmed or harming yourself, then I need to share, because there might be a situation where someone lost money and they feel very, very uncomfortable. They feel shamed and they're thinking about harming themselves or somebody else. I can't keep that confidential. I'm not in that role. But wanted to let you know, in this situation, in this forum, I will maintain the highest level of confidentiality, either in this group or personally if you choose to talk to me later. Now, these are some of the topics I talk about when it comes to D-Free, okay? Step one, we're going to talk about step one today, admit the problem. And there's a scripture reference or scripture focus to each step. So the first thing is to admit the problem. A lot of us have a financial problem, but until you admit it, you can't do anything about it. And then after you admit it, you address the mess. You figure out, what do I need to change? You think about it. Step three, adjust your attitude. Now, this is so important because before you do any action, you admit it, you address it by looking at it, but it's a mindset. It is a mindset. Just like eating, just like salvation, it's a mindset. It's a way of life. It's not magic. There's no quick fixes. Then, in step four, you start the plan. You start budgeting. Then you steer the power. By steering the power, you learn how to use payments to double up. You set the timer. You make goals for yourself, timely goals. Step seven, maximize the margin. That has to do with insurance. I've said it before, I'll say it again. There are a lot of people who don't have life insurance. There are a lot of people still whose family members are passing away, and unfortunately, they don't have life insurance. And sometimes people don't think about life insurance until they're going to have a major surgery, or they don't think about it at all, or they think they're going to be losing something. But talk to a qualified individual about getting life insurance. I'll tell you, having life insurance saves a lot of stress when you're grieving. When you're grieving the loss of a loved one, you don't want to be worrying about how to pay for a funeral. You don't want to have to worry about how to pay for expenses. So when you get these things in order, you maximize the margin. No, you're maximizing the margin and minimizing the stress. Then you maintain the focus. That has to do with, sometimes things are going really well and we think we got it made. And then all of a sudden, if you will, you backslide. You treat yourself. And it's not about restricting yourself, but all of a sudden you think you got it made, but you have to maintain your focus. You have to keep doing. This is a lifestyle. It's a mindset. It doesn't end. You've got to keep going. Step 10, there are actually 12 steps, but I usually teach the step 10, invest in others. Once you learn about it, help somebody else. That's how the community grows and gets better. Once you learn about it, tell somebody else. Witness to somebody. Share. Tag, as Lavelle said. Tell somebody else. And don't be ashamed to have success and not share it with somebody else. And you don't have to have complete success to share with somebody else. If you just learned how to save a little more money, tell somebody how you did it. If you just learned how to decrease your debt, tell somebody else. That's what it's about, is helping someone else after you learn how to be successful in these areas. And these are the steps, again, as you can see, admitting the problem and going on in the scripture reference. Each level has pretty much three steps or three lessons, and they're all biblically based. The last two I didn't include was Ignite D Free Living, which really has to do with sharing with others and, again, impacting the culture. It's all about you learning and helping someone else. Here's the D Free money tip. Did you know? And this is simple, but a lot of people don't do it. But if you did it, I believe it would change your life. Investing as little as 7 minutes a day working on your finance will reduce financial stress and anxiety. Someone says just 7 minutes? Yes. A lot of people in my day, I will say, as a banker, people used to record their transactions. I say that because a lot of people will look at their bank balance, and even though a transaction hasn't come through, they look at their bank balance and say, "I've got this much money." Well, when that transaction comes through, they actually don't have that much money, and a lot of times they end up with non-sufficient fund fees, NSF charges, things like that. So investing as little as 7 minutes a day, look at what you spent. See how you can pay down your bills. Look at your budget. If you don't have a budget, that's something we'll talk about. But investing as little as 7 minutes a day working on your finances will reduce financial stress and anxiety. And I believe each and every one of you has at least 7 minutes a day. Now, this is a memory verse or key verse. And this is something Dr. Sori said. It's in the word, but it's something, and it's so true. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. And this is word, Proverbs 22:7. Think about it. The rich rule over the poor. If you're in debt, you're a slave to debt. You're a slave to the lender. The thing is you can become financially free. And people who are financially free aren't necessarily rich. They just don't have debt. And not having debt can free you up. Can I get an amen? And I ask for an amen because I know that feeling of not having to pay debt. I know that feeling of not having to pay debt. Sometimes you look at your bills and you wonder, how did I get in this mess? You wonder how you're going to pay it. That's because you're a slave to the lender. That's why. But once you become financially free, and it takes time, it does take time, but it can be done. It can be done. Level one, get started. As we get started, we talk about a very, very familiar story in the Bible about the prodigal son. And if you all don't know it, it's in Luke 15:11 through 31, how there were two sons and a father, and one of the sons, he asked his father for his inheritance right now. He didn't want to wait till his father passed away. He wanted it right now. So what he did is he spent that money in righteous living, partying, having fun, and ended up with nothing, with nothing. But he came to himself. Step one, admit the problem. He came to himself and realized, wait a minute, my father's servants have more than I have. Something's wrong here. Something's not right. So you've got to look at your situation. And before I do this, I want to say something. I know everybody in a financial situation, everybody in debt isn't in debt because they've messed up. Sometimes there have been medical situations. Medical bills can be very, very high, had nothing to do with you. Sometimes a spouse dies. Sometimes there's divorce. Sometimes, there's other things. So it's not always because of not managing your money. But however, there are a lot of people who end up in that situation because they weren't managing their money right. They were spending and living paycheck to paycheck and doing things like that. They were doing that. But the first step in turning around is admitting the problem, stopping and saying, hey, something's wrong here. I'm making too much money to be in this situation. Hey, something's wrong here. I've got too many things to really have nothing, because the things you have really in most situations, they're not worth you being broke. They're not worth you being broke. A lot of times, young people get out of college and the first thing they do is they buy a car and they don't know anything about financing. They don't know what interest rate they should pay. They don't know. And the car dealers, they see them coming and you're in all this debt. And then they decide to get another car. So they've got $25,000 loan left on this car. And then they get a $20,000 car. Now they got a $45,000 loan on a car. You got to look at yourself and say, something's not right here. And you got to admit the problem. I'm a part of the problem. You've got to do it just like the prodigal son did. You've got to admit the problem. And hopefully some of you are here, not just to support, but realizing something's not right here. And I don't have the answers. But what he did is he went back to his father's house. He knew that he had to do something over. He had to work things out. And that's what you have to do if you're struggling financially. Admit the problem. No shame in admitting, I'm broke. And I'm broke because I don't know how to manage money. I'm broke because I don't have a budget. I'm broke because I'm using a credit card like it's money. I'm broke because I'm not patient. I'm broke because I don't wait for payday to buy things. I buy things right now and every day and put it on a credit card, and I fool myself into saying that I'm going to pay off the credit card as soon as I get paid. But once I get paid, I can't afford to pay the credit card, and it's a vicious cycle. But first you have to admit the problem. Admit the problem and then do something about it. So admitting the problem, the first step, admit it. Now, what do the D's and D free stand for? And as I mentioned before, and we'll talk about it in later slides, but D free is designed to take people from the bad D's to the good D's. Living with only the good D's means true financial freedom. And we'll talk about this. Freedom from debt, freedom from delinquency. Some of us are familiar with these. Freedom from deficits, freedom to deposits, freedom to dividends, and freedom to deeds. And we're going to define them in the next slide. Debt, money you owe to creditors or loan agencies. What are some examples of bad debt? I usually ask this, but we know sometimes payday loans are examples of bad debt. High interest loans are part of bad debt. Sometimes people, payday loans, pawn shops, people going to pawn shops. Delinquency, habitual late payments negatively affecting your credit score. Your credit score. What are some of the what are some areas people can have financial delinquencies? Almost anything. Credit cards, rent, car payments. So delinquencies are definitely bad deeds we want to get rid of. And deficits, when your expenses exceed your income. You have more bills than you have the month. You have more bills than you have the month. Definitely more expenses than paycheck. So those are, we want to move from the bad D's and D free to the good D's. And the good D's, deposits. An amount of money held in a financial institution on behalf of an account holder for safekeeping. And I don't mean depositing, getting your paycheck on Friday and then Saturday or Sunday having nothing left. Not just deposits where money goes in and then goes out, but actually seeing a balance grow in that checking or that savings account. Dividends, a portion of a publicly traded company or fund's earning that is distributed to shareholders. Do you know there are certain securities, stocks, where you can purchase shares and they actually pay you a dividend either every month, every quarter, every year to hold their money, because the money that you're buying is they're using it to make money, and part of that money that they make, they're giving it to you. So you're not always paying, you're actually getting money. I always tell people when interest rates go high, everybody's not complaining because people with money in savings or investments are getting paid, are getting paid. People with no money, they're the ones crying because they have to pay higher interest on their credit cards. But people who have investments, people who can purchase CDs and get 7, 8, 9, 10, 12% or more in interest or dividends, those are the ones that are happy. That's a good D you want to have, is a dividend. And deed. A deed is a written document that transfers ownership of land or other real estate from the owner, also known as the grantor, to the buyer or grantee. That's like purchasing property, whether you're purchasing a house, a condo, a townhouse, land. So a deed, having deposits, dividends, and deeds are the good deeds that can lead you to financial freedom. And some people don't know about deposits because, again, all they've done is had money go in and go out. Sometimes people haven't been educated about securities, stocks, and bonds. So they don't know about dividends. They just give their money and they don't get anything. Or they put money in a savings account and they're getting 1% or 0.5% when they could be getting 5 or 10% or more. And deeds. House ownership isn't for everyone, but it's good to own, if you can, to own your own house, whether it's a condo, a townhouse, a house, because then you own that and you have equity in it. And when you pay it off, then you don't have to make payments again for that house. And if you sell it, then you have more equity in that house that comes to you. When you leave an apartment, you take nothing with you. You pay and you pay and you pay and you pay. And it can be more complex than that. But it's important to have, again, deposits, dividends, and deeds. Barriers or obstacles. Usually I give an assignment, and think about this. I usually give an assignment in discovery. I have discovered the following barriers are preventing me from financial freedom. Some people have barriers, and you think about your own. Some people buy lottery tickets trying to get rich quick, thinking that their number is going to hit. The odds are very, very low, but they'll spend more on lottery tickets sometimes than they will on tithes or savings. If they put what they spend on lottery tickets into savings, into an emergency fund, as Lavelle was talking about earlier, they might have more. Credit cards. People use it like cash. A credit card is a loan. It's debt. It's debt, and you can be a slave to debt. Car loans, depending on it, you can be paying way too much. And if you are delinquent, making late payments, your credit score goes down. If your credit score goes down, you will be paying a higher interest rate for car loans. If you're paying higher interest rate for a car loan, that means you're paying a higher monthly payment. You could get the same car as someone else. If your interest rate is 14% for bad credit and 4% for good credit, you could be paying hundreds of dollars more than the other person just because of your interest rate and your bad credit. Payday loans. Payday loans. So every payday you're getting a loan to not to pay for expenses a lot of times because you're not managing your money. A lot of times. Family and friends. Unfortunately, you have to learn to say no. You have to learn to say no. Sometimes there's always somebody in family says, can I borrow? And lending to family, you've learned that it's not a loan, it's a gift because you're not going to get it back. You're not going to get it back. And the thing is you're giving to somebody else, always giving, and no one's giving to you. And as a result, I'm not talking about being stingy. I'm just talking about being wise. Because the thing is you're broke, but no one's there to help you. And again, I'm not talking about being resentful, vindictive. I'm just talking about the facts. There are some people who just give, and they don't have enough for their own bills. Student loans. Oh my God. All right. Auto title loans. We'll just move on because that's a big one for a lot of people. And sometimes we didn't know. I didn't know. I thought that was the only way to finance an education. There are different ways, employers, things like that. But yeah, student loans can be very, very difficult to get, a difficult way to be enslaved with finances. Auto title loans. People use their car titles. The car's paid off, and they use their car title for loans. And it's not always emergency loans. Sometimes it's to get something that they want instead of something they need. And gambling can be very addictive. Can be very addictive. My own soapbox, you have a lot of athletes who are millionaires encouraging people who are broke to gamble on professional sports games. And the thing is gambling can be addictive. And the thing is where are you getting this money? Is this bill money? Is this money for food? Is it money for necessities? A lot of times gambling can lead. It's a barrier or an obstacle to becoming debt free. So look at that and write down your own barriers and obstacles, not to shame yourself, but to find out, where can I cut back? Where can I get this money from? Because in a lot of situations, like I said, it's not always more money that we need. Sometimes, a lot of times, it's how we manage the money that we have. I always say our grandparents and great grandparents did a lot more with a lot less, because a lot of times they weren't spending all that money on clothes. They weren't spending all that money on things they didn't have. They were saving, 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 paying off houses. They always had money when you asked them, sending you gifts of money because they managed it well and they weren't going into debt to do it. So look at your own obstacles, decide where you can cut back. And here's an opportunity. Like I said, list your own barriers and obstacles, list them, make a list. But you have to admit you have a problem first. Because if you don't admit you have a problem, then your list is going to be empty. But no shame, no shame. Like I said, I've been there. I've been there. And then sometimes, depending on what happens, I go back there. But I have the tools necessary to get out of that situation again. I don't go back there because I um, spent once in need. Sometimes a situation comes up, an emergency comes up, and that's the situation. Nevertheless, look at your barriers and your obstacles to find out where you may need to cut back to become financially free. This is one of my favorite scriptures when it comes to money, because we don't look at it as money a lot. It has to do with contentment. Philippians 4:11 through 13. And it has to do with contentment. Contentment. And I ask, how can this scripture support you as you work through your barriers and obstacles? It has to do with contentment. It talks about the fact that we need to be content with what we have, but it also is the 14 Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And when we think about all things, I think about these things. I can budget through Christ who strengthens me. That's part of all things. I can spend less than I earn through Christ who strengthens me. I can reduce my debt through Christ who strengthens me. I can stop using my credit card when I can't pay off the full amount who strengthens me. I can stop comparing myself to others, and I can stop fronting when I don't have the money. And I say that because that scripture isn't just for living spiritually, but it's for living naturally. And you actually can do that. You can do that. So we can't just put in a corner, I can do this through Christ, but I can't do this through Christ. We can do all things. Budgeting, we can do. Spending less, we can do. Because sometimes I ask people, what are you going to do with more money? Again, if you don't change your mindset, you're just going to do more of what you do now. So, and I have this because I did a financial presentation with men. List the financial barriers for men and women. Just list those. Think about them. What are they? Name and write 2 challenges you believe keep you in your financial situation. What are those challenges? And again, contentment. Sometimes we're looking at somebody else and we're not content with what we have. They've got a 2024, we've got a 2014, and we're like, I should have at least a 2023, but you can't afford it. You can't afford it. You're living in an apartment because you haven't saved for a home, and they're living in a house, but you're figuring, okay, what can I do to get in a house, but not doing it in a way that will be harmful to your finances. Contentment, being content with where you are until you can get where you want to be. Being content where you are until you get what you want to be. And create 2 financial goals. Create 2 financial goals for yourself. Just two. They don't have to be big. And I use SMART goals. I don't have it here, but SMART is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, timely. So January 1st, if you get paid bi-weekly, every week, starting January 1st, I will save $25 a paycheck. And by December 31st, 2025, I will have saved what 25 times 26, 50, 100, 50, you'll have at least $1,200, $1,300. $25 a paycheck might not seem much. Well, let's see, 25 and 50 times 6. Not exactly, more like 300. Well, yeah, more like 300. Nevertheless, it might not seem like a lot, but a lot of people don't even have 300 in their savings account. Maybe you want to save 50 a paycheck. Maybe you want to save 75 or 100, but create two financial goals for yourself. Maybe you want to add $25 for a bill that you're paying, a credit card bill, and not spend anymore, but create two financial goals for yourself and make it personal. It's personal because I don't know where you are, but I'm telling you, and I believe it. Little goals will add up. Little goals will add up. Again, assignment, commitment. Think about it. If you don't have, I will open an account I do not currently have. Some people don't have a checking account or a savings account. They have these account cards that aren't even financial institutions, if you will, such as prepaid cards and things like that. But open an account you don't currently have. Maybe you have a checking account, but you don't have a savings account. Open a savings account. You don't have to open it with a lot of money, but in order to start saving, you need to open that account. Maybe you don't have a retirement account. Open an account you don't have. Commitment 3. I will list 3 to 5 challenges I've had in the area of finances. If you're struggling, list those areas you're struggling with, because again, you have to admit it before you do it. And there's no shame. No shame. You have to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere. Think about salvation. You had to admit that I need to change my life. I need a change. I need Jesus. Well, the same with finances. You have to admit you need a change. You need to do something different. Commitment 3. I will name at least 3 financial goals I have. Think about financial goals. Lavelle said he wanted to be in the millionaire club. Think about goals. They don't have to be that big. List them for you, but you have to start with listing a goal and then taking action toward that goal. Commitment 4. I'm proud of these financial actions I've taken. You have to be proud. Proud. Talk about something you're proud of. It might be in 2025, you've already said that you're going to increase your 401k, your retirement plan, by 1%. Being proud of that. You maybe just bought life insurance for yourself and your family. It's great that your job has it, but what if you lose that job or you quit that job and you don't have it? I'll share a story, 2 stories, and it has to do with my father. My father passed away in 1995, and I remember very specifically, 1995, I was broke, broke, broke. I was broke, and there was none of us, one of 12 children, that had enough money to pay for his funeral. And I asked my mom, I said, did he have life insurance? She said, yes. I was like, this is great. But he had accidental death and dismemberment insurance. He didn't die of an accidental death or dismemberment. So we were broke, and we didn't have GoFundMe back then, but his brother actually put up his house to pay for the funeral. Also, my father's a veteran, so he was buried in a national cemetery, a military cemetery. But the thing is we were broke. Now, when my mother passed away recently in 2023, she had life insurance. And like I said, you do not want to be thinking about how to pay for a funeral when you're grieving. You do not want to think about it when people are going through all these things. You don't want to have to think about it. So if be proud that you have life insurance, not proud and puffed up that you've got it, but just proud that you're in a situation where you won't have to struggle and suffer like some people do, unfortunately. As a result of keeping my commitments, my life will be better in the following ways. Talk about that. How will your life be better? For life insurance, you'll have less stress. For saving, you'll have more. I mean, we started, I didn't have it, but we started savings funds, college funds for our grandchildren, because we don't want them to go through what we went through when it came to financing our college. And you can do the same. Sometimes you don't give them gifts they don't need, but think about giving them, money for college. And think about it. Wouldn't you love to have had $5,000, $10,000 in cash when you went to college instead of $5,000, $10,000 in loans? So just think about it, and think about ways your life will be better. So list these things, and that's an assignment for you. You don't have to share it with me. If you want to, that'll be fine, but you don't have to. But write these things down, steps to changing your life. Now we're nearing the end, and these are affirmations. Whether you've made a lot of changes or not, think about taking that first step. But these are affirmations. You can write them down, and I think these are helpful. Affirmation number one: there is room for improvement in the way I handle my finances. There's room for improvement. If you don't think there's room for improvement, you won't do anything about it, and that's okay. It's a personal thing. But affirmation number one: there is room for improvement in the way I handle my finances. Number two: there are resources available that can guide me to a better life. There are definitely resources available. Like I said, sometimes after taking this course, people would ask me to be their financial coach. I don't coach as much anymore, but I still love what I do. And there's books. Say Yes to No Debt. I'll give a shout out to Dr. DeSoris. That book, you can get it for $10 on Amazon. $10 on Amazon. And it's great. He talks, and the thing is, I think it's so culturally relevant. It's good for anybody, but culturally relevant. And I'll share one of his stories, which I loved, love. He talked about it earlier. His pastor of a church, they had uh, um, they had bought a big building, and they had a $20 million mortgage, and he was wondering how they were going to pay it. And the leaders of his church said he should talk more about tithing, and he didn't think that was the answer. So one Saturday, he said he was at the church at an event, and he was walking through the parking lot looking at all these nice cars, these luxury cars. He said, I think he said there was even a Lamborghini or a Maserati or something like that. And the thing is, even though there were all these beautiful cars in a parking lot, his members weren't giving. So he realized that's what he needed to focus on, is teaching his members how to give. And once he started teaching them how to give, he was talking about how his giving increased, how not his giving, the giving of his membership increased. And that's why I stopped here. It says there are resources available, whether it's his book, whether it's somebody else's financial course, whether it's something, there are resources available that can guide me to a better life. There are. And number three, I will have to change the way I think if I'm going to change the way I live. I will have to change the way I think. It's a mindset change if I'm going to change the way I live. For many of us, it took us a long time to get into the financial mess we're in. And it's going to take some time to get out of the mess. It took time to get in. It's going to take time to get out of it. You got to be patient. Again, there's not magic. There's no quick fix. But I will have to change the way I think. A lot of us are in the mess we are because of the way we think. We're going to change the way you live. Again, we're nearing the end, and I don't know, and I can't tell because I can't see who's on. But one of my victory stories comes from one of my favorite clients. I'm not going to mention her name because she didn't give me permission to. But I was teaching the class "Say Yes to No Debt" at the church I was attending when we lived in Georgia. I'll say that the name of that church is Bethesda Cathedral. And we started teaching classes, and she was in the first class. And whenever she testifies, she talks about the fact that when I announced the class, she says, I'm not going to tell anybody about my financial business. And then she took the class because after she thought about it, she realized she didn't have any business because she was in debt. She didn't make a whole lot of money, but she was in debt, and she just didn't have her finances straight. Once she became a client, I prepared a budget for her. We met twice a month, went over her budget, went over her finances, put together a plan for her. And after, I can't remember, um, after about 18 months, she had paid down her debt and saved $38,000. She had $38,000 in her savings account. She was also a nurse, but she um, did nursing on the side. So, but she saved that money, and then later, and she was about 67, 68 when she started that. 67, 68 years old when she started that, and about maybe a year and a half later, she got ill. Well, as a result of having saved that money, even though she got ill, she didn't go back into debt because she had that saved up in her emergency fund. So she was able to pay for medical situations, medical procedures, rather, things like that, and didn't lose a step. Didn't lose a step. Yes, sometimes she got tired of me because I hold people accountable, but people have to. Something I don't do is make anybody do anything. People have to do what they want to do, but I help I help people do it, and I'm so proud of her because even though she was reluctant at first, she worked the plan and the plan worked. She worked the plan and the plan worked. There are people who brought their children to the class, like their teenagers and college student children who turned things around. One young man purchased a $20,000 car with 10,000 down because he saved his money. He saved his money, and things like that. Those are victory stories, and they don't have to do with me per se, but it has to do with them thinking differently about how they managed their money. And they didn't say anything about making a different amount, but they thought differently about their needs and their wants, about saving and about getting in debt. So the thing is if you work it, it will work, but you have to change the way you think. And I'm so grateful for having been invited to transform your finances, because transforming your finances really begins with transforming your mind. It begins with transforming your mind. You have to change the way you think. Again, it's not magic. It's not magic. You have to be patient and content with what you have. It doesn't mean you can't have goals and can't have those things, but sometimes you have to wait. Sometimes you have to wait. And if you wait, you'll still have what you desire to have. You just won't have any debt. You just won't have any debt. So thank you again. I appreciate the opportunity to come on tonight. And if you have questions, please feel free. Please feel free. I am pretty much an open book tonight and happy to share with you and answer questions if we have time to do so.
Oh, let me see. I'm muted. Okay, there we go. That's better.
Yes, you're back. You're muted. You're muted again.
Testing 1 2 1 2 3 4
Yep,
5.
you're
Is
back.
that better?
You're back. You're back.
All right. We do have plenty of questions that did come in, so they were ready for the question portion of this. So we do have a
Okay,
plenty of questions,
great.
and you were saying something that made me think about something that I had written, and this is an unshameless plug, and you kept
Okay.
saying it over and over again. I had to go in my library real quick while you were talking for a book that I've written called Change Your Thinking, Change Your Destiny.
Yes, sir.
And there's only a thought away. Once you change it here, and it's based off the scripture, as a man thinketh in his
Thank you.
heart,
Yes.
so is he. And I didn't realize I had wrote this book, and never released it. Just had all of these resources just sitting. 2016. Forgive me, Lord, for just having that seed stored up. This book I read 16, Change Your Thinking, Change Your Destiny. And I say that to connect with this. While you were talking, again, we just didn't bring you in, and we have some questions for you. My wife and I was just talking about, because it's one thing to have the great person come on, give us all this great financial information, and us not apply it. So as you were talking, me and her quickly were saying we need to write down our 2025 financial goals. And
Yes,
also with
absolutely.
writing down the goals, it comes with the process and the plan to achieve those goals. So that means I love shoes. Many I love shoes. That means instead of getting all the shoes that I want, And that's one thing I have done in the past 2 years. Instead of making Michael Jordan rich, what I also did was I bought Nike stock. So every time he gets paid,
There
I
you
get
go.
paid. So
There
every
you
time I'm
go.
buying shoes, I'm getting a part. But also too, it was very important to
I don't know what happened, but I can't hear you.
Yeah, we lost audio on you, Pastor. It's
I mean,
can we hear me? Can we go now?
there we
yes,
go.
All right. All right. It always happens on Bible class night. And we when we get off, everything is nice and clear, but it's all good. So what we wanted to do was just make sure that so instead of me buying all the shoes and things that I want, to make sure a plan that hey, maybe we can't go out every 2 weeks or whatever, that maybe it's once a week. So it's one thing to write down a plan, but it's another thing, and this is going to be a key word for executing our finances, is discipline.
yes,
Discipline to work the plan. Instead of and this I see it so much on social media. It's like you want to go out to eat, but you got the home food. No one never really wants to cook because the outside food is
absolutely.
so much appealing. But those are some of the things that we have to do to make sure that we work the plan for our 2025. So, first question that we have that someone texts into me, and I continue to see them come in. So you got your hands were full of questions. One of the first questions was the person asked, "How do I?" or they were. I don't know if it was a general question or basically towards them. As you might know, some people put bills or certain things in their child's name and
Hmm.
ruin their credit as a child, and now that they're of age, they got like a 300. I don't even know if that could be a credit score, 300 credit score or something like that. And now, as a child, they're trying to rebuild their credit. Is there anything that they can do to get themselves out of debt like that? Like, if a child, somebody put all of this bills in a child's name, and now that they're of age, they're trying to get back.
Yeah, yeah. This is very serious. There's not one thing I know of, and it would be good to know specifically. But the thing is now this isn't. I'm not telling you to do this. Depending on how much debt there is, there may be a debt consolidation loan that's necessary. Um, Bankruptcy might be an option, and I say this isn't. I can't tell you how to do this. You might have to talk to an attorney about this, but maybe a consolidation loan might be an answer because, like I said, I don't know how much debt we're talking about. Is it 5,000? Is it 10,000? Is it $20,000? And again, um, I don't know that this is something that you can be absolved of because somebody else put it in your name. You may be able to, but you might have to go to a debt counselor and ask them about that too because it's something it's going to take some time. It's going to
Really?
take
So
some
even
time.
if I show them the proof, like, sir, I'm 3 years old at this time, how would I call Xfinity and get a bill in my name?
Right. That's why I said maybe a qualified debt counselor or attorney or something like that would be somebody that they would need to go to to prove for that proof and to get it taken off of their credit report and things like that. I That's something I haven't dealt with. I've heard about it a lot. I haven't dealt with it and getting it off. However, it may be possible that it can be removed from your credit report. And sometimes with your credit report, you can um, the word escapes me, contest. You can contest the credit that is on your report and have them research it. If they can't prove that it was you, then it may be able to be removed. So maybe
Oh,
start
that's
there.
good.
Start there. Annualcreditreport.com. Annualcreditreport.com. You are allowed to get a free credit report from all the credit reporting services every year. Not credit score, but credit report. And it's so important because there could be a lot of errors on your credit report, from your date of birth, from your name, a misspelling in your name, things like that. Every year, what Equifax, Experience, TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. Those are the credit reporting agencies. I say that because we get a lot of things from Credit Karma. That's not a credit reporting agency, things like that. But what you do, again, look at your credit report, see what's on there. Then you can dispute it. Dispute that that wasn't you. They will research it. They will research it. And it's possible that it can be removed from your credit report.
Yeah, y'all, I want to share with you two things that he shared with me years ago. Again, I'm bringing you all vetted financial information. So again, that I think that's annualcreditreport.com. Make sure that it's the right one, because they got so many out there that try to impose as them that it's not really them, and they want you to get you to put all of your private information in. But you are due one free credit report every year. So that means you can pull your own credit, won't do any harm to you, and you can look and see, did I create all of this? Who is Lavelle Step? Because it might be Step Per without the T or something like that. And I don't know this dude, and you never know someone lightly took part of your name and did something. Or it could be a form that you filled out wrong that somebody didn't understand and input it wrong, and it could be on your credit score. And there's a lot of things that you can do to clean your report that can actually start to begin to raise your credit report, especially if you dispute it and you have information that it wasn't you. So that's one of the things that I learned. So that's free. You can get that once every year. And most of these companies, which I found, even though that's free, even though the credit score not free, but what I found after getting your credit report, a lot of them actually do give you your credit score for free. Like they try to make you sign up for 7 or 14-day trial. But what I do, I sign up for, and I immediately, before I forget about it, I sign up, then I immediately go and I cancel it. Because if not, it'd be one of those things that would get you in debt trying to find out about your debt. You're paying $21.99 a month, just like a lot of gym memberships people got that ain't been going to the gym, been paying that $29.99 a month. But I immediately cancel it, and it shows you what is your current credit score. They have a lot of things like that. Even if you don't want to do that, what's that other one that always used to pop up? Was it Credit Karma or something like that? That used to pop up. That, but it gave you a Vantage score. It wasn't the actual FICO score. I forgot what was the name of that one, but it was kind of on the money for what your was it Credit Karma? It might have been Credit Karma, something like that.
That's close. Very close.
That's one of the tricks he taught me. Another thing he taught me, because I wasn't always good on this, and this actually works really, really good. So listen to me. Listen to me, y'all. I'm giving y'all the cheat codes. These are things that he taught me years ago that I've actually used. The second that he's like, probably, what is this? If you have a good history of paying your bills and you come upon a hard time, you can actually call the credit card company and ask them, and you were late on paying the bill, you can actually tell them to remove the late charge. Because sometimes if you are late on a credit card or something like that, they go into this sky high interest rate, and you paying all that late fee. But if you've been good at paying your bill consistently over a certain period of time, and especially they giving you most of them give you, what I found out, like 2 a year. If you're late on paying something and ask them, can they remove the late charge? Guess what? They would say they'll look at your account and give you a courtesy late fee removal. So those are things that sometimes the credit card companies don't tell you. They continue to stack up those fees, but those are things that you can use to your advantage. Of course, you want to make sure that you always pay on time, but if you forget or just come across a hard time that you're not able to pay and you missed a payment and you're able to pay next month, instead of skyrocketing, you paying 40 or 50 some dollars that's not going to nothing. Hey, tell them to run that back and tell them you can actually call your credit card company and you've been paying and say, hey, can you remove it? And most of the time they'll be able to remove it for you. So those are two key things I learned that they can do for you. Okay, what's our next question?
Wait, before the question. Speaking of credit cards, very, very important. If you pay your credit card bill off, don't cancel your credit card because every month it reported as paid, even with a zero balance. So if you've had a credit card for 10 years and you pay it down for a zero balance and you cancel the credit card, that's a line of credit that goes away. But if you keep
Ooh,
paying, if you don't even have to pay, it keeps reporting every month as good credit because there's no balance, no late payment, and it keeps reporting. So just because you pay it off, don't close the credit card. Just don't use it. Don't use it. And that's important because credit your credit score is made up of things like late payments or how well you pay, what your balance is, and what your mix of credit is. Like, do you just have credit cards? Do you have a credit card, a car loan, and a house? Uh, have you paid well for 10 years or whatever? I mean, my score had been down to the 600s, but it's increased a lot because it keeps showing you don't even have to pay. You just have a zero balance. But as long a zero balance showed as paying as agreed. So go ahead with the next question, please.
along with that, because I think somebody even put a question with it. I think it might have been Kendra because it would be kind of connected with that. I think she was saying instead of closing it. Oh, here it is. Here. Question for like, should we close the credit card accounts once paid off, or keep it open, or just low? That was the thing I wanted to kind of. And what about just having a low balance? And I've
You
also
can.
heard, and you can address this. I've heard some people who are disciplined enough who actually use it for the points. Like, I know I'm gonna pay my rent anyway, so I'm just gonna use the card, get the points, and then pay whatever off with the cash the next month anyway to kind of build up my score. Is that a good way to use it?
I hesitate on that. I
Oh,
think there are few people who can do that. If you can do that, because a lot of people will say, I'm going to use it for points, and they end up spending and spending and spending. And then sometimes you pay your rent, you've got to pay sometimes, if you pay your rent with your credit card, it might be 3% of your rent to pay with your credit card. So let's say 3% of 1,500, 45, it's like $60. So to get 1,500 points, you're spending $60 just in fees. That might not be worth it. And then
mm,
plus, if you're doing that and you end up not, if you don't have the discipline to go ahead and use the money that you have to pay it, then you might have had good intentions. But and I say it can be done, but if it's something you haven't, if you don't have the discipline to do it, I would not encourage you to do it because you could have good intentions and end up in a worse situation. You can keep it open and low, or keep it open and zero. As zero balance will not close your account. They'll be unhappy because they're not getting any interest off of you. They will increase your credit limit because you're not spending. But a zero balance or a low balance, as long as you keep paying it, like again, a zero balance, you don't have to pay. It keeps reporting it as paid. A low balance, just make sure you keep paying the minimum balance, whatever it is. But either one would be fine.
will they close your will they close your account if you have a no balance on? Say you pay that whole credit card off and it's just
They
sitting
may,
there.
they
Will they
may,
close it? Because
they may
I've
because they're not
had that
making
before. I
any
was like,
money. I mean, it's not a guarantee they'll close it, but they're not making any money. Banks, credit cards, they're in business to make money. They make money off the interest, you know, off the interest that you pay. That's why it's not a free business. They're in business to make money, and the business is to charge you interest. And sometimes even people with good credit pay high interest rate because people don't investigate the interest rates they pay. Like someone who has really good credit should be paying less interest, but they don't even look at it. They're just like, "Ooh, a credit card," and they'll get it. So you have to investigate. You have to do your research. You have to do your research and think about it. There are so many credit card offers out there, and just because they're offering you 60,000 points doesn't mean it's the best thing for you. It doesn't mean it. You have to look at yourself in your own situation.
good, good. I see Bishop in the comments. Bishop Anderson. You said you was teaching good. You said you're teaching good.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Cheyenne says, what are good ways to build your credit score?
the best ways is to pay on time and to pay down your debt. Pay
You
on
mean I
time and
can't
pay
pray
down your.
away my bad credit score? I can't pray it away?
You'll be praying for a long time.
What
And
if
the
I
thing
go in
is you
tongues?
have to put action behind it. You have to put some action behind it. And the thing is again, some people just aren't patient, but over time it will make a difference. For instance, sometimes, and it depends on everybody's personal situation, sometimes you might have a $500 bill and you might have a $2,000 credit card bill. Now it depends, but sometimes if you're paying $50 a month to pay off that $500, right? In 10 months it'll be paid. Let's say 11 months. You take that $50 and add it to that credit card, not in that credit card bill is paid off quicker. So you got that $500 debt paid off, right? You've got that credit card balance going down, right? That's going to raise your credit. That's going to raise your credit score because you're paying as agreed every month. You're paying as agreed every month. And then once that credit card is paid off, you're going to add it to maybe a car payment. So you're going to pay that down too. And it takes time, but definitely, definitely the simple answer is to pay your bills on time, pay off your debt. Even paying an extra $25 a month on one thing pays it off a little quicker. But then when you pay it off again, use that what you were paying to pay off something else. Don't
Gotcha.
have a $300 payment and now you pay this off and you get more debt. Add that $300 to your $400 car payment. Now you're paying $700 a month off instead of $400. And believe that's real. That's not just talking. I know there are people with $400 and even more car payments, and there are people with $300 payments. When you add them together, it's quicker. It's quicker, and it will increase your credit score.
Let me
Some
ask you
people
this. Oh,
some
okay.
people also these days they're allowed to um, use their rent to be reported on their credit bureau. Now you have to ask about that, check with the credit bureau. But some people who don't have houses, sometimes their electric bill, it might not be a lot. Maybe it'll go up 10 points, 20 points, or something like that. But there are some situations where um, utility bills and rent can be used to be reported if and you're paying it on time. Again, it might not be a lot, maybe 10, 20, 30 points, but that's also an alternative.
Let me ask you this. I don't know if it's a taboo question because it could be, I guess, depending on how you look at it. Are credit cards really good, or is it a bad thing, or is it a way that we can use credit cards for our advantage? Like because I'm sure there's a way that we can use it. Well, I believe that's why you're here. You're the
Yeah.
expert. We can use it for our advantage. But most of the stories that I hear about credit cards, it's like it's a setup for you. It's like a downhill journey. Like it's no good for the person who has it. You see more people trying to get out of debt than the credit card being a helpful source.
Well, a credit card itself isn't bad. Again, it's how you use the credit card that could be bad. The thing is a lot of reasons it's bad because you haven't been taught how to use it. The thing is if you have the money, a lot of times credit cards are a good way to purchase things because if it was a bad purchase, the credit card can get the get it refunded where maybe a bank debit card won't. And I'm not saying this for people who are struggling with credit cards. And I'm saying this because there are situations where maybe you want to buy an airline ticket with a credit card. Maybe you were duped and the credit card will stand behind you. I mean, I paid for a birth certificate with a credit card and they didn't even give me what I asked for. I called the credit card company and said this was fraud. They didn't give me what I wanted. The credit card dealt with it, refunded, the money, whereas the bank may have done it and they may not have done it. So sometimes standing behind the credit card can be better. It is okay to use a credit card, but again, it's how you use it. Are you using it because you don't have the cash? Or are you using it, again, like I said, to have the discipline to use the points? Are you going to buy the plane ticket and then pay it off with money you already have? Or are you going to buy it and then buy another one and then buy something else and then buy something else? And before you know, you have $3,000 or $4,000 balance and you're making minimum monthly payments. Now, that can be bad. But if you're
Gotcha.
if you already have the money and you use it to purchase it, like I said, maybe for the guarantee, the warranty, but then you pay it off right away, it's not bad. It's not bad. A lot of things aren't bad. It's how you use them.
Gotcha. All right. What other questions we got? I told you they had some questions for you. How important is a budget, and how do I create one?
Ooh, a budget is extremely important. Extremely important. And the reason I say it because it lets you know the money coming in versus the money going out. How you create one, you look at your income and your expenses. Write down all your sources of monthly income. It could just be your job, it could be a side hustle, it could be social security, it could be commissions, whatever it is. Write down every, and then you write down everything going out: housing, you rent, mortgage, um, taxes, whatever. You might have automobile, you might have a car loan, monthly gas, monthly insurance. Write that down. Um, Personal expenses. Write down groceries. Write down eating out. Write down personal care. Do you get your hair done? Do you get your nails done? You know, things like that. Do you have insurance? Miscellaneous things. You're giving, tithes, offering. Do you give to other people, like family members? Sometimes people give their grown kids money. That's between you. But still, write down all expenses. Then what you do is you determine, are my expenses more than my income? And sometimes they are. If your expenses are more than your income, you either have to learn to cut your expenses or you have to get more income. And then sometimes
Hmm.
you have more income than expenses. So you decide, what are you going to do? Maybe you're going to save more. Maybe you're going to save more. But I think a budget is extremely important. And I don't know who did that question, but I'm willing to, yeah, we should sit down and talk about writing a budget. I didn't want to commit myself, but I think maybe we should figure out a time for if there's more than one person so we can just get it done. But it's extremely important. Extremely
Yeah,
important.
and this won't be again, as I've been letting the church know. This is just kind of an introduction because we're going to have it a few more times. So we'll have you back a few more times next year again with what whole health, wellness, mental health, all of that other kind of stuff because it's needed. That you see, as the questions keep coming up,
Yes,
it's needed. And one thing I believe under my leadership that God has given me, He wants us to be a whole church. So He wants us to prosper financially and understand how to use these kingdom resources we're getting, And even with that, I'm even thinking about even though we're a planted church, making sure that we have even a budget for the church, which we do, but still just making sure that we keep it and that we understand, especially with us trying to find our own building and things of that nature. You can't
absolutely,
do it if you don't know what you have
absolutely,
already.
absolutely.
All right, what else we got? How much should I invest in the stock markets monthly to actually see lucrative increases in dividends? And what
See,
is a
this is
good
why.
stock to invest in?
See, this is why I
ETF
put this
versus
thing in the. This is why I put this in the disclosure in the beginning. This will be offering
uh,
you financial advice. This is more
okay,
information. Yeah, I'm just
okay,
telling you because that's a good question. However, that's a question that you actually would have to see a financial advisor for
hmm,
because I could give you information. The licenses I have can give you information on mutual funds and things like that. But that question there, you're trying to get me in trouble, Carla. You're trying to get me in trouble. No, I'm not saying that. But that's somebody you should have a financial advisor
okay,
to talk to about that. Definitely a
okay,
financial advisor. Maybe whoever handles your 401k or your retirement fund or something like that.
okay, okay, cool. Yeah, I think we got, or who did I got? I can't think of that name. All right, some more questions? I know we got a lot.
Metro
Steve
2
says,
compliance and how to use it. Mm-mm. Nope.
in it,
Unfortunately, no. I don't. I'm not aware of Metro Tool compliance and how to utilize it. Unfortunately, I think that would be, if it has to do with investments or things like that. That again would be a financial advisor.
oh, I never heard of it. I wonder what that is. Metro 2 compliance. Have you ever heard of it?
I haven't. I haven't. I don't. and how to utilize it. I'd have to Google it, and I'm not going to do that right now. But unfortunately, I'm not sure what that is.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I just wanted to know. I was like, wow, they really got some financial questions for you.
Yeah,
And then too, as we said, if some of y'all came in late, we don't want to necessarily give full financial advisory information because we could be held liable, things of that nature, but guide you in the right way to steward the
yes,
finances that you do have. So, do we got any
absolutely.
more information before we end? Okay. If not, that is it. Want to say thank you, Joseph. Thank you so much
Absolutely.
for coming along with us for doing our transform our finances. You will definitely be back. We'll probably be doing some budgeting and just more specific topics. So again, bring those things in.
Appreciate
What
you.
did Victoria say? Stephen
Appreciate you,
had a
Bishop.
question. Did we answer the question? Did we answer the question that he had? So we want to make sure that we did get all of the questions answered
Bishop
that people have.
Anderson. Bishop Anderson gave us a shout out. Said he loves both of us. I appreciate
Oh,
you. Appreciate you, sir.
appreciate you, Bishop. Appreciate you, Bishop. Man, good to have you on. Good to have you on. Good to have you on. So, with that being said, again, when y'all let me know beforehand the questions, we can make sure that we're prepared for them and see if we can and cannot answer it. So, again, with that being said, y'all know what next week is. You can put me full screen. Let's give a hand for Joseph, everybody.
Thank
Let's
you. I
give a hand
appreciate
for
it.
Joseph. Did an amazing job, amazing job. But with that being said, as like the question that Steve had, the question that my wife had, if this is really interesting to y'all, what I can do, let me know. I can do, and that probably would be more of a Zoom because I don't know how that will work. I can get a financial advisor in because, again, I want to make sure that our church has all of the resources that's needed to succeed. So if that's something that y'all interested in, Steve, Victoria, even my wife, let me know. We can actually get that kind of financial advisor who can tell you where to put your money in stocks, and then with all of that, because they may have you have sign an NDA because again they're offering financial advice. But by us being a church, there are certain things that we can and that we can't do. So we want to make sure. But if that's something that you're interested in, I can present that information to us to make sure that you have it. Because again, I want to make sure that you got every thing that you need to do that. Okay, Jamina said, yes, we want help with investments. I know my wife said it. And Steve, if you're still here, I didn't know, was that a investment kind of question? If so, then that'll let me know that we do have a need for the financial advisor. So if so, I'll reach out. I got a few people that's still in my Rolodex. Hopefully they still there that I can reach out to them. And then we can have even a more detail so I can make sure I set that up for next year that this will be the financial advisor. So we'll still have Joseph for our basic stewardship and budgeting things, but y'all want to know how to invest y'all money. That makes me proud too as a pastor. That makes me proud that you want to find ways to my camera. I don't know if y'all can see that, but it's just looking extremely blurry to me. And normally it wasn't like that. But anyway, it's Thursday. Try to do that on Thursday. But we thank God anyway with double praise. So again, if y'all need that, again, Steve, Victoria, Carla said yes. Jamina said yes. Did Cheyenne say yes too? So if y'all want that, I will make sure that that will be a part of our 2025 financial initiative that we have financial investors that will teach us how to invest. And we want to make sure that we're able to do that. Oh, Metro 2 is a way to report your credit to. Okay, cool. We find out more and more information with that. So, with that being said, okay, cool. Thanks, Steve. Thank you for letting me know. So, with all of those yeses, that's what we're going to do. That's going to be a part of our whole growth church initiative on next year. Financially stable, mentally stable, spiritually stable, and physically stable in our bodies. I'm going to bring all of those programs to us. I've already been talking to people. Now I got to add this financial advisor to the list to make sure that we're doing that. So, with all of that being said, y'all listen to me. As y'all had all these great questions for today, make sure that you bring your questions for next week about what we've been talking about for this whole half year about transforming our mouth, being good stewards over our mouth. Again, we're going to have great teachers in the person of Minister Tucker, Minister Jones, Elder Cisco's, he's available. All of the ministers of the gathering will be on here, and we'll be talking, giving you what God has given us. We're going to have this next transformation trivia is going to be a $50 trivia to make sure that you are inhaling the word of God, and whoever gets the most right, they would get that $50 gift card for next week. So with that being said, let's receive our offering for tonight. Let's be good stewards over what God has given us. I'm going to give 25. You can meet me or beat me with 25. Our information to give is below. Cash app is the Gathering Shy. You can see it right there. The preferred way to give is the Gathering Shy, our Zelle at the Gathering Shy at yahoo.com, or you can go to our website and text to give, or you can go right from your phone, text to give from your phone at 1-888-519-1913. Enter the amount and it will give you the instructions on how to give. I am going to give 25. I want to always be seen giving. I don't give to be seen, but it's good to be seen giving and not just tell people to give. So with that being said, TG, I pray that you all really, really enjoyed our Transform Your Finances. And y'all were saying y'all want more. Y'all want to know how to invest your finances. So that is something that we're going to do. Again, I want to see everybody in the building on this Sunday. God has something amazing for us. I'm excited already for when we even walk in the building of what he's going to do, whether it's a song or somebody saying hello at the door as you come through the threshold, or if it's through the spoken word or through the music. Even God works through our musicians. Somebody need to start tagging Mike, because God be using Mike on the piano like amazing. And from our drummers and all of those different people that are connected and gathered with us. I love y'all. Again, y'all have received all our announcements, and some of y'all will be getting y'all shirts for the Hungry Gathering on this coming Sunday. With that being said, I love you. I'll catch you the next time when we gather. God bless.